Chandelier there from Sia this morning on DCFM 88.9. Well, hang on to yourself, folks. Get a hold of something. Take a grip on something solid because here we go. It's that time of the week and he's waiting readily for us. 1, 2, 3, go.
It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on DCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Richard. How are you going?
Oh, I'm going fine. It's a great day. Geez, it's quite warm.
It's quite warm and windy, actually. You were right when I was listening to you earlier saying it was windy, but yeah, getting up to 14 degrees. It's almost like spring started, Richard.
Well, funny. What was yesterday's date?
Yeah, 1st of September.
What's the 1st of September remind you of?
1st of spring.
Well done. Go to the top of the class.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Now, I haven't been brushed. Have you been brushed? I've been brushed with, getting spots off my coat before I go out.
I thought you meant brushed
with a clothes brush.
With your back hair might have been brushed sometimes.
Well, yeah, what hair I've got left, yeah. Gosh, you're rude.
So brushing, I'd never heard of brushing either.
No.
So I was doing some research for this week. And, you think of brushing, you think of brushing your teeth, you might think of brushing your hair. But brushing is another online scam. There are so many online scams, Richard. If people got something better to do with their lives than try and scam us. So if you get a package in the mail that's a free package, you might get a toothbrush, speaking of brushing, or you might get a little Bluetooth speaker. Or the latest thing is you might get a packet of seeds. And you think, why am I getting this? But anyway, it's free, so that's all good. But what's happening is people are trying to increase their reviews and their standing on some online marketplace. For an example, on Amazon or on eBay. So they'll actually steal some credentials. So they might steal your details, your address, your email address, etc. Then they'll make a purchase on your behalf. So yes, you do get it for free, and it'll be something cheap to transport, cheap to buy. So seeds is perfect, very light. And what they then do is once you receive those goods, they go and do a review on your behalf. So here's Richard Mutton. Wow, this is a great company to deal with, and I have had great service with them. And then there's a review. And the stats show that between 70 and 84% of people look at online reviews and take a lot of notice of them before they make a purchase. So they're trying to build up their company, make it look fantastic. They don't say, hey, I've got a packet of seeds. They just say, great company to deal with. The product was received very quickly, etc., etc. So they're trying to increase their online presence by sending free products out to people. And so the thing is, you go, well, I got a free product, who cares? But they've had to have stolen your details before they can actually go through that whole process, send it out to your home, do the review, etc., etc. And what can you do about it? Pretty much nothing. That's the thing. The only thing that I would recommend people do is if they do receive something they didn't pay for from any of those major marketplaces, I'd actually contact that company and say, I've just received this package. Here's the company I've received it from. I didn't pay for it. I didn't ask for it. I don't know anything about this. And if they see enough evidence of that, they might go and take some action against that company. There'd be no point complaining to the company that sent it to you because they're the ones doing the scamming.
Obviously.
So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, very interesting indeed. I received a letter during the week from a company suggesting that because I have solar panels, that I invest with them in a battery. And right down the bottom, very small print, was subsidised. And I thought, hello, they're going to con me and making money out of me. Yeah. So I shoved it in the bin. Yep. But they're tricky. People are trying every trick in the book these days.
Exactly right, yeah. And COVID-19 has brought them out. More people are online, obviously, and some people are doing it a bit tougher financially. So there are more and more scams coming, and which it saddens me from a human race perspective, but just be alert. That's the old saying is, the world needs more alerts, so be alert.
Yeah, be alert, yeah, indeed. And we've got some crazies out there. The woman hiding in a truck to get into New South Wales. And, it's unbelievable. Yeah, and people eating more during COVID and drinking more, and that's come out and been shown. Anyway, let's get back to tech talk. A fighter pilot dogfight between a human and an AI, who would win?
Yeah, that's a good question. Who would win? And we see lots of competitions between computers and people, chess competitions obviously, and there's a big deal about Big Blue when it finally beat a human chess player. But with a dogfight, there are so many things that are going on and so much natural instinct in a human flying a plane, you think surely the human would win. There was a competition put on recently where they had a range of AI computers competing against each other in a dogfight. So lots of AIs competed to get the best AI, and a company by the name of Heron. So there were people like Lockheed Martin in this competition. There were whole departments of universities competing, but Heron won that competition. Then the Heron dogfighter, like AI dogfighter, went up against a real live dogfighter who has had about 20 years experience. He trained other fighter pilots, so huge amount of experience there. And AI won 5-0. They had 5 dogfights and the AI won 5 times. What was interesting in the process there, and again, they said if they were real planes in a real dogfight, it may not have been 5-0 because what was happening was the AI would basically take a shot off anytime it had a vague chance of getting a hit on the other plane. So there might have only been a 30% chance of hitting and the AI plane would take the shot. Whereas a human fighter, what they found when they analysed it later was the human fighter would try and get into a better position to get a shot away that was a certain shot, but by the time he did that and lined up, he was already gone. So the human was trying to use his resources in the best possible way and using all his skills that he built up over the years. You don't just go firing off bullets all the time randomly, whereas the AI seemed to be much more inclined to just shoot them off when it had a vague chance of getting a hit. So anyway, it was interesting, but that's where we're at. And look, maybe in the future, world wars will be fought by a couple of computers competing against each other in an AI sense rather than real people.
Well, I was going to suggest that, and I think that's probably one way to go. And I think also any war that's fought in the future will have an AI component in it. It's got to. It's got to.
Yeah. Already we see drones in action when people are sending. Why have one of your humans go out when you can just have some equipment go out and take care of your missions? And in a perfect world, Richard, we'd hope there's no world wars in the future, but unfortunately, people are people.
People are people. They certainly are. Speaking of drones, are we a step closer to drone delivery?
We are actually.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Amazon are the third company now that have actually got permission from the FAA in America, the Federal Aviation Administration, to basically start doing their testing. So they've got a license now to fly drones. And obviously it doesn't mean suddenly that every delivery from Amazon across the US is going to start going via drone, but that allows them legally to go out and do more widespread testing. They've been doing their own testing, obviously, in certain circumstances where they've got an enclosed environment, but this is now able to go out across cities, across towns to actually do deliveries. Amazon's aim, this is incredible, Amazon's aim is when someone clicks buy in a major metropolis, so LA or New York, their aim is to have that to your doorstep within 30 minutes. Now, I've been to those places. You can't get out the door in 30 minutes in some of those places.
I was going to, especially in New York.
Oh, crazy. So,
try and get a taxi. Try and get a taxi in New York at about 7:30 or 8 in the morning.
Yeah. Look, I often joke when I was over in places like that they shouldn't call them highways, they should call them car parks.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
People are just parked on the road there. So 30 minutes is their aim.
And actually, LA, no, that's going to be a very, very quick drone to get to the outer suburbs of LA.
And I think they're limiting this to the major metropolitan area of each of those. But that's their target, that's their aim. And obviously you can't do that on the roads. They're trying to do that with drones. And you've already got Alphabet Wing, which is basically a part of Google there. You've got UPS as well. Both of those have got FAA permission. So Amazon's the third one to get FAA permission. But I expect at some stage we'll see drones doing deliveries. And I'm not necessarily thinking about in Dubbo because it's a bit easy to get around in Dubbo. But in places like Sydney and Melbourne, I don't think we're that far away from getting to the point where we'll see some of these tests being conducted and certainly some of the things happening in the real world where we'll get deliveries via this.
I would just wonder about that. I mean, quite frankly, say you've got a company in Dubbo who has to deliver something to, I don't know, Barradine, all right? And that would be a truck and a couple of hours.
Yep.
And you'd get the drone would get there much quicker, and it certainly could get to a property in and around, say, Barradine or Canamble or further out, Nyngan.
So one of the big issues with drones is obviously their distance, and that's where a lot of the testing at the moment is being done in those major metropolitan cities, so they can pick it up from the warehouse, they take it out and come back, so that they're not doing long flights. When you start talking about going to places like a Barradine, a Canamble, Coonabarabran, locations around Dubbo, that starts to push the limit of where they're at with drone technology. So it sounds good, but I think the real issue here is just the congestion on the roads. Get out in those roads around Dubbo, you can get a truck doing 90, 100 kilometres an hour. Most of these drones don't do those sorts of speeds because they're just trying to do short hauls. But again, long term, yes, but in the short term, they'll really focus on those major metropolitan areas.
And the other thing, a truck can take much more than a drone.
That's
So
right. They can load up a few parcels.
Exactly. So, and they can, but anyway, so I'm trying to frighten all the truckies out there. You're going to be out of a job tomorrow. No
There
way.
might be drone operators instead.
Yeah, tell you what, something might be out of a job. Certainly not out of a job, but certainly under attack, the cyber attack on the stock exchange in New Zealand. That is serious. About 4 or 5 days in a row now.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't think this attack is designed to be an attack on New Zealand. I actually think that this is an attack to test some mechanisms that people have got that are trying to work out, can these work, can we get these to work? Because the reality is the New Zealand Stock Exchange is not a huge stock exchange. The economy of New Zealand is not huge. I think the population of New Zealand is about 5 million people.
Same as Sydney, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So you haven't got a huge economy there, but you've got a good little testing ground to see whether some of your attacks might work. So my opinion is that this attack on the New Zealand Stock Exchange is a warning to every other stock exchange around the world that if you can shut down the New Zealand Stock Exchange, then maybe the ASX is next, maybe the New York Stock Exchange is next, maybe some other stock exchanges around the world. Once they've tested this process, this mechanism, they may be under attack next.
It may fall down if it gets to the 6th day.
Boom, boom. We had to have a New Zealand accent joke in there somewhere.
We did. Matt, always good talking to you at Tech Talk. We'll see you next Wednesday morning.
My pleasure.
And on that, whenever you see New Zealand, by the way, the first thing you say is, "G'day, how are you? What's 3 plus 3?" Always good fun.
Right, thanks, Richard.
Talk to you later then. Bye-bye. It's coming up to 20, well, wrong fader. 29 to, you put me off again. 29 to 10 DCFM 88.9.